How we start our days at camp sets the machine in motion in regard to intentionality and building community. How we end is what they remember each day, and just as important. Today, we got Jordanna from Camp Robin Hood, Ontario, and Phil from the mighty Ramaquois in Rockland County, New York. And we're going to deep dive into what each of our camps do and why. It's Arrival and Dismissal, and it's a thick and dense podcast, so get ready to absorb because big camps that can pull this off with precision are amazing to hear about. This is the Day Camp Pod.
This is the Day Camp Pod from Go Camp Pro, bringing you the best ideas, strategies, and discussions in the day camp industry. You can find our show notes at daycamppodcast.com.
Welcome back to the Day Camp Pod. I'm Andy Pritikin, director of Liberty Lake from the Philly suburbs of New Jersey. And my co-host Sam is driving some people to the airport and will hopefully be popping on later. But we are joined by two of my good friends. I got Phil Rainone from the miraculously amazing Ramaquois Day Camp. Phil, first time, long time.
Thank you.
Yeah, so he's more of an operations guy, and I don't know what Matt Kaufman did to convince him to do this, but we're really psyched because when I visited Ramaquois probably like 20 years ago, I got an amazing tour by Phil and just really got to see a lot of his insight and what makes this giant, awesome camp click and move and stay on task and the amazing program that they have and the operations. And we were just talking before about like how a lot of camps, they tend to wing it. And Ramaquois is, well, I don't know what expression you could have besides it's intentional.
Very
Very
intentional.
Yeah. And fun yet. And then we have with us from the Great White North, Jordanna Grossinger. Welcome back. How you doing?
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Nice to be
So
here.
we just finished conference season, and besides Tri-State, which we were all at, Jordanna, weren't you the program chair of the Ontario Camp Conference, I heard?
I was. Yeah, we had the OCA Connects conference in February, and that was my second year co-chairing that. And it was amazing. We had about 400 camp pros in Ontario
Oh,
gather,
yeah.
and it was a ton of fun. Nice to gather together.
Yeah, I heard it was great. You had Michael Brandwine up there.
Yeah,
And
Michael made,
it's
speaking of intentional camps, we had Michael up there. Yeah, it was
yeah,
great.
yeah. And I was talking to our buddy Matt Wilfred about it. He was telling me how awesome it was. I think he was talking to me. He was up in Manitoba at a camp conference, and I was just like, the Manitoba Camp Conference? He's like, yep. I said, let me guess how many people were there. 40? And he's like, come on. It's like 85. And I was like, all right. I was like, negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit? And he's like, something like that.
It's cold up there. It is very cold.
Yeah. But I think he said like 400 Canadian Association camps are in Ontario, though, right?
They are. The majority of our camps are in Ontario and Quebec, but really proud to have them all across Canada too. So it's nice that everyone's kind of doing their thing and bringing camp pros together all across the country, which is great.
Big country, a lot of country.
Yeah, lots to
Not that
go.
many people, a lot of country.
Yeah, come for a trip. Everyone's welcome. Just give me a call.
Yeah, yes, we need to do it. We need to get up there. All right, so today's topic is based on, we did a day camp roundtable at Tri-State, which was super well attended, and everybody was all jazzed up to talk about like real day campy stuff. And one of the things we talked about was arrival and dismissal. And it was so interesting for people to hear how camps like ours, when I say like ours, mine and Jordanna's and Phil's, big day camps do it. Because to me, if we could do it with a lot of people, then you could certainly do it with a little bit of people, right? And there's a lot of forethought, a lot of trial and error that goes on. And also our camps have been going on for quite a few decades at this point. And so we have pretty decent systems. So I want to jump right in and talk about arrival. So let's start with the Canadian because Phil's just going to blow he's going to, well, because Phil's going to be like, oh, we got 6,000 buses and 4,200. No, I'm joking. So Jordanna, the kids are coming in, right? Now your transportation, I don't want to get stuck in transportation mode, but are you picking up kids at central locations, at their houses? Like, how's that work?
Yeah, in terms of transportation, we have about 50 buses that go out into the GTA, Greater Toronto Area. We're based just outside of Toronto. And so we have all those buses going out. We have door-to-door pickup, neighborhood pickup locations. And we also now, post-COVID, have drivers. So we have families drive their kids to camp as an option as well. So that's been really interesting for us in terms of arrival because it's the flow of traffic and having parents on site in the morning, which is relatively new for us. And so that's brought its own set of challenges. And I'm a systems person, and Robinhood, we really stick down to those and try to be intentional about those as well. And so it's been interesting navigating all of that in the morning.
Yeah. No. So yeah, we have a lot of people on our site too. So in regard to that family thing, I find that intriguing. So here I am, you're talking to me on the phone, Mr. Pritikin, with my two children, right? So is there an incentive for me to do this? Or
The
like
neighborhood pickup
how do you,
stuff.
yeah. Well, no, forget the neighborhood pickup. The family thing that like if I want to drive my kids in, like do I get $10 off? Like what am I getting for doing
Yeah,
that?
so our fee structure, there is additional cost to taking our buses. And so it's priced out that door to door is more,
Uh,
neighborhood pickup's a little bit less. There's no cost to driving your camper to camp. And since we've introduced driving to camp, we've actually gotten a lot more campers that are close by. So people more in the neighborhood that are like, I don't need my kid to go on the bus the whole time. We're just going to drive them in. So that's been helpful in really spreading the word in our local community around camp.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. That's one of the reasons we do it also, because to me, that's our discount to our neighbors, right?
Mhm.
Because instead of discounting our price, we say, well, we're gonna give you a discount for not taking the bus or doing extended hours since you live so close. But it's interesting, there's a lot of day camps out there that don't have the driveways, the parking lots, the this, the that, right? And it's like, Lord, no, please don't drive your kids to our place because we don't have like the capacity, right? Like there's a lot of camps, there's like, I think Banner Day Camp was one of those. They were just like 100% take the bus because we don't want the mayhem that it has, right? And when we talked about the Liberty Lake one, I mean, there is a lot of mayhem. There's no doubt about it. All right, so here come the buses and the cars coming down the driveway. Right? You have a long driveway?
We are so grateful. We have a huge long driveway that they come by. It's been interesting since we introduced the drivers to camp. We had to be very strategic about laneways for the cars to go by and for the buses to go by. And somebody kind of divides it up and stands at the top and says, cars this way, buses this way. And they all line up. We have a specific lane for our cars. And then we have a team of staff that open the car doors, say hello to the campers, get them out, and then we move them along. And then on the other side of our big, large driveway, we have the buses come in. And this was a bit of trial and error too, right? It used to be, I mean, when I was a camper at Robin Hood, it was that we were on the main road and we would just unload right off the road, right into camp. And you can't do that anymore just with how
Is it a
busy.
different site?
It's the same exact site, but it was the road, like the main road people are driving on into camp. And we can't do that anymore. The traffic is just too much, and you're not
Yeah.
allowed to stop traffic and all those things. So over time, we've made those adjustments. And then
Hmm.
as we use the long driveway, it used to be that they would come right down and we'd park them diagonally. Now we park about 6 to 8 buses. We unload them all. They come onto the grass. We get them moving, and then it's really playing traffic cop in the middle of that driveway, making sure the kids are crossing safely. And then we let the cars and the buses go out. And then our staff are greeting the campers kind of on our main area there. We have a morning show happening. Someone's on the mic, just
Yeah,
really.
let's talk about that because that's pretty unique. I've seen some videos of that.
Yeah, the hype is like our favorite part in the morning. We have a bunch of theme days, and so peak staff are dressed up, ready to go. We're on the mic, welcoming everyone to camp, and the parents stay in the car. So the ones that are driving are looking at the camp craziness that they love, and all we hear is we get texts and emails later that they want to join in on the fun. So lots of music going on and getting the kids organized. The first few days we have a lot of signage set up, so they go to the sign for their unit, and then our staff will walk them to their units. And we have a bunch of staff just assigned to shuttling kids to their units, coming back to the buses, greeting, gathering, and then shuttling again. And our leadership team is kind of divided up into having main spots throughout our arrival process, just to make
Hmm.
sure that we're kind of playing zone defense. I think my dad will be very proud of
Yeah.
me, sports reference, but playing that zone defense in the morning is really important to make sure we got all those
Yeah.
covered and that the staff are supported, because you can say, hey, we got to greet those kids. That doesn't mean anything to a 17-year-old staff until you actually see it in action and practice that act of getting down to their level, smiling. Like that's the moment where you see those kids the first couple of days coming off the bus. They're nervous. Like you can see the nerves of I'm at this new place. It's big. What's going on? There's so many people. So we really drill in that customer service piece at arrival, which is really important.
Yeah. I feel like I'm at the Camp Robin Hood makeup orientation were like, the weekend before camp. And I'm like, what? What? That's what we're gonna do? That sounds crazy. So just go back one. I want to just hone in on one
Yeah.
more on the I forgot what you called it, the party aspect of what you guys do.
The hype,
The
the theme.
hype.
Yeah.
Right. So can you just drill down and get more specific of what's happening during this hype besides Howie dressed like as a clown or something running around?
Yeah, I mean that is definitely happening. So
Yes.
that's really so we have two of the 5 days throughout the week are theme days. So our campers are dressing up on the bus and they're coming off. And so we, based on that theme, the leadership team will dress up and gather kids and just get them really excited. But we have music playing and we're just addressing kids, calling them out on the mic, saying hello, interviewing kids as they come off the buses. Some of our buses will come up with cheers and they'll come off and do them for everybody. But it's really while the flow of arrival is happening too.
Well, that's really cool because that's unique. I think when they're coming off the buses, when everybody else is so stressed, let's get them, like you said, you're in the zone defense, let's get them to their groups and all this kind of thing. You're literally you have loudspeakers blasting music and you're interviewing kids and and kids are coming off the buses and doing their bus cheer off the buses, right? And is it yeah, I mean, it must be amazing video footage, that's all I gotta say. Right.
Great content. We get our media team on it, and some of the buses will lean into that, and sometimes we'll have staff doing some dances on the main field, but it's really an exciting time because we're all together too.
Yeah.
So when you talk about community building, there's like certain aspects of camp that are really zoned for those things, like our flagpole where we all gather. But something like Arrival is one of those like indirect community building times where like we're actually
Hmm.
all together and not just in our cabin groups throughout the day. So it's really nice to see some different people and siblings. We have a lot of siblings who are like, I need to walk my little brother to their cabin, right? So we allow that and then we'll get them to their unit and all that stuff. So it's a really
Yeah.
nice time in the morning.
Yeah, well, I think if you're a small camp or a big camp, it is an amazing sense of community that this kind of thing brings because everybody's in it together, which is super cool. That
And
that is.
while we have that happening, I will say also like our bus counselors are bringing in their attendance. And so the
Mhm.
logistics and operations of all of that to make sure we have all the info we need. They're checking in with our head of transportation to make sure everything's been done as it's supposed to and give any updates. And then we head off to our day.
Mhm. And so head off to their day. So now here's these hundreds of kids. Are they going to one central location? Are they going to like five different places based on their age or divisions? Where are they
Yeah,
going?
they're going to their units, so they're going to their cabins. We have physical cabins set up where they bring their bags, they unload, they get ready, they get a snack with their counselors and start doing activities. And that's all division based. So we have 6 divisions at camp, and those are further split into units, all based on age. And so they're in their areas and they're getting attendance done, they're unpacking their bags, they're getting ready for the day, getting used to their schedule. And then our first period begins at 9:30, and then they're off to their schedules.
Got it. And when's your last period end?
We dismiss at 3:30, and that's when they head to the buses.
Gotcha. All right. Interesting. That's great. And spoiled little kids with cabins. My God, you're so lucky. As I
That overnight
segue,
feel at day
as I,
camp.
yes, as I segue to Phil, who they're actually on a former overnight campus, right?
Sure we
So,
are.
yeah, so they got camps, they got cabins galore for their kids too. I
Very
wish we
lucky.
had that kind of setup. So, all right, so Phil, take us down the driveway at
Sure.
Ramaquois.
So unlike most camps, we don't pick up anybody within 5 miles of camp. So we have to go pretty far to get campers. So we pick up in Rockland, Bergen, Westchester, and Manhattan. The campers are picked up door to door, mini yellow school bus, air conditioned, and they come up to camp. We have a nice long driveway to come into camp in the front of our camp. So we have over 80 buses coming into camp. We have 40 coming in the front and a little bit over 40 coming in the back. They are set up by county of where they're going to be coming in. They'll come in, their bus counselors will get off the bus with them. They will walk them to their side of camp. Because we're on grounds of an old sleepaway camp, we have a beautiful lake in the middle of our campus, which separates our sides. We have a junior camp, which is 3 to 6 years of age. We have a boys' side and girls' side that are separated by the lake also, that are both second grade to 10th grade. So the bus counselors will walk the campers to their bunks and to where their group counselors are and drop them off for the day.
and that's where they'll start their day. We actually learned from Jordanna's family years ago that actually first period starts on the bus. That's really important. We went to a session back in the day with with her family. We met up and we've been talking ever since. And we learned that was a really important aspect of their program, which completely changed our process of thought. So we have games on the bus for them and everything like that. And then they go to their sides, like I mentioned, for the drop off, and their sides are meeting. We have the whole side has an opening ceremony with flag raisings for their side. We are uniformed, so they have colored shirts that they're wearing based upon their color of their side, and all kinds of things like that that bring that community aspect together to that side of camp.
So you having three assemblies then, right? The little
That's
kids
correct.
and then the upper boys and upper girls.
That's correct.
Interesting. And the kids wear uniforms every day or just
They wear
Mondays or what?
uniforms every day except for during Rama games, which is our version of color war.
Wow, that's interesting. That's old school and unique and cool on its own. And yes, we many times on a day camp podcast have given props to Jordanna's grandfather.
And I will say that is a key part
And
of our arrival. I didn't mention my grandfather, Larry Bell, is still out there counting the buses, making sure everyone's in, and saying hi to all the drivers. So I'm so glad it's been helpful. We've been able to chat about this for so many years.
yeah, and I love Phil's interpretation, which is that first period begins on the bus. I always say camp begins on as soon as you get on the bus, but first period, I like that. I think that's even better for the staff to get that into the heads. Very interesting. So Sam just joined us. We're going to get to yours last, Sam, because yours is so different than all the rest of ours. We're just variations on the theme here. But we do have at Liberty Lake, we have a significant amount of cars that come in, significant, because we literally have an exit off the highway. And during the pandemic years, it was close to 50% of the people were in cars, but now it's back to normal. It's closer to like 20% in cars, but it's still a significant amount of cars coming through a camp. And they start at 7 in the morning because we do before care. And then they're sort of trickling in, and then it starts getting bigger and bigger. And we increase the staff as it gets closer to the regular buses arriving. And then basically around our window of arrival that we try is between 8:45 and 9 or 9:05 when the buses are coming in. And Phil's pulling from New York City, Jordanna's pulling from Toronto, I'm pulling from Philadelphia. So it's the same idea of like, oh Lord, we're pulling from the city. They might come a half hour late. Like who the hell knows? Things can happen on highways and such. So we have to separate, just like Phil's separating by county, Jordanna's separating, you're separating cars and buses, right? So we separate cars and buses also. So that's something we had to do because it just became too dangerous, frankly. So we have the buses separating, dropping off in one area, and the cars dropping off in another area, and the kids sort of then filtering together. And like Jordanna said, an extensive amount of signs and such on, you could say the beginning of camp, but at Liberty Lake, we have new kids starting every single Monday until the sixth week. So it's really an every Monday thing that we have to be super aware of that kind of thing. And on Mondays at Liberty Lake, we all meet together as an entire camp and we bring everybody together at our giant amphitheater. Monday mornings and Friday afternoons, the whole camp meets together. So imagine it's your first day ever at this camp and you're being siphoned into this like gigantic Roman amphitheater kind of situation where there's all these super helpful people taking you to your crew. So so we set up the specialists, the activity leaders who only do that. They're pulling kids out of cars. And what Jordanna said, super important, right? Nobody gets out of that damn car except the kid. Okay. It's open the door, give me your kid, hit the road. Like it's got to go. And we have music blasting and there's people dressed up and we're doing some fun stuff, probably not to the degree of Robin Hood, but similar at least. So the same thing, the parents are distracted. Lord knows we haven't had any fender benders. We're so due because they're so enthralled. I mean, these parents, they come to me and they say, I was driving to work today and I was so freaking miserable and pissed off. And then I came to your camp and I just like all of a sudden, like my day's good. Like you just changed my day because they feel the positivity as they're driving through, which is super cool. So the specialists, we sort of set them up like almost like on a track to get as the kids are coming. So they're helping along the way of where they got to go to. But we utilize our LITs, which are entering 10th graders. They are our shuttle system. So we have, let's say, 20 to 30 of them at a time. And they are the ones that are really designated to bringing kids to the groups and then coming back. We give kids, if it's your first day of camp, so of course the first day of camp, everybody's got it, right? A first day of camp sticker. So it says Jordanna Grossinger. She's in Stanford, all college names at my camp in this division. So that as the kids jump off, these LITs know to look for the kids with the first day of camp sticker. And they just grab them and grab a bunch of kids with them and take them to their group. And as soon as they get to the group, then they don't come running back. And they're doing like the 1,000-yard dash back and forth for a while. It's a lot. It's a lot, but it is super exciting. And when I was joking around about like the makeup orientation, right? Because I do have to explain this during makeup orientation. And when I'm trying to sort of give people a visual of never been to camp before, I say, did you see Saving Private Ryan? Remember that scene when they first hit the beach in Normandy? Okay, it's sort of like that. Right? They're coming out of their vehicles. People are crying. There's tears. There's feces. There's everything. Kids are freaking out, and you just have to read body language. And those stickers on those kids on that first day is just so damn important because especially the little kids. I mean, Phil's talking about 3 to 6 year olds, right? A nervous 4 year old. Okay, when you're like, hey buddy, what's your name? They can't even say their name or they're whispering it, or they're crying, or whatever. You need that damn sticker, or you need it on their backpack, or something. There has to be some identifiable thing, right?
For over 100 years, summer camps have been an integral part of the AM Skyer world. AM Skyer is a strategic partner for summer camps across the country, building personal relationships and providing valuable resources to their clients and friends. Every day, AM Skyer is proud to support camps and make them safer. Skyer was founded by Abe Skyer in 1920 and is now the third generation of Skyer family leadership. My friends Henry, Jeffrey, and Amy, and the experienced AM Skyer staff, they eat, sleep, and breathe summer camps while fostering partnerships with camps that last for decades, if not centuries. Give AM Skyer the opportunity to find solutions for your most challenging insurance needs. I can tell you firsthand, they truly go above and beyond. Learn more at amskyer.com. As a camp director, you're a leader of your camp and a pillar in your community. When your customers put tremendous trust in you, CampMinder's powerful management software tools deliver the day-to-day task support that helps you make every touchpoint moment memorable and every summer stellar. CampMinder has the most user-friendly platform for both your staff and your parents and is backed by a team of crafty engineers and customer service associates who are constantly thinking of ways to optimize your camp's database, communication, and financial management. With state-of-the-art app for your camp families and an API available for third-party softwares, CampMinder is always evolving elite summer camp software. Check them out today at campminder.com.
Let's just talk about that for a second, because I know you guys do backpacks. How do you get your kids the backpacks before they get to Camp Jordanna?
So we don't, we used to. Now we
Mm-hmm.
do it the first day of camp. So we ask parents to send the backpack they want to with
Mm-hmm.
their kid, and then they get a backpack on the way home, and then they use it every day after that.
Got
We
it.
also do the labels you're describing. So on
Mm-hmm.
the bus, our bus counselors, while they're doing their programming that first day, will put the label out on the camper so that we can see it. But it's too real that
Bulletproof.
yeah, but that lip quiver of
Bulletproof.
those little ones when they come off the bus, like you can tell, like they're like, I
Yeah.
got so comfortable on the bus and now I'm at this new place and I don't know where I am. But if the labels help us catch it early, right? And so we can be like, oh, you're in Munchies 5. Welcome to camp. Let me show you exactly where you're going. And it's been good to have some of those handoffs. And it's scary for the staff too that first day, right? To see
Oh, hell
how
yeah. A
much is
brand new staff
on.
person?
Oh,
100%.
it's crazy overwhelming. So we've
Oh.
actually like simulated our arrival at pre-camp. So 2 of our days of pre-camp, we're doing arrival how we would do it because they're coming in on buses too. And so we'll kind of act it out to the level that we can to make them a little more comfortable with what's coming their way.
How do you do that? How do you act it out?
So our staff are on buses on their way to pre-camp. So we provide
How do you
transport.
do that? You're picking them up at a
We
central
have
location?
we have pickups in central locations and they'll get on the buses. And then as they come in, we'll put them all in the arrival area of a regular day at camp and
Oh,
play it
that's
out.
great that you can do that. That's super awesome because there's really no better way.
It's been a bit of a game changer. Like we just noticed it's pretty overwhelming that first day for everybody. As much
Oh
as you
my
can
God.
say directions or show them videos and do that, to actually practice that piece and the lunch piece, those are the two that we're like, we gotta
Yeah.
we gotta zero in on this.
Yeah, I mean, so my son-in-law is working for us now, and he's from Germany, and he never went to camp before until he came to Liberty like a couple of years ago. And he keeps on reiterating, do you understand the amount of pressure you're putting on these 16 to 18-year-olds? Like how hard this job is, right? They're in these giant tin cans, right? With all these kids from age 3 to whatever, managing, trying to run program games, right? I mean, like, it's an unbelievable amount of expectations, right? And then they open the door and they're on the beach in Normandy, right? So, and by the way, Jordan, number one note I've already got from this podcast now: extra labels, name labels on the buses with the bus captains. Oh my God, how can I not think about that? 30 years. Holy crap.
Took
Feels
us a
stupid.
while too. We're there now,
Yeah.
yeah.
Phil, how do you guys do the backpack thing?
We actually don't do backpacks. We
Yeah.
we we give an early enrollment gift, which is a piece of clothing or backpacks or something like that.
Hmm.
We give 2 complimentary shirts per camper. So we don't do a backpack. We just tell them to bring a bag, and they bring that
Hmm.
bag the first day. We tell them what to put in it, and they put
Got
it
it.
in there. They put it because we have bunks because we were a sleepaway camp. They put it
Yeah.
in their cubby, and they have it there all summer. They don't have to
No,
take
it
it back and
makes
forth
a lot
every
of
other
sense.
day.
The Wood Day Camp that I'm partners with, the kids bring their own backpacks as well, and they're you could argue they're more happy having their own thing, right? Jordana and I, we're doing it because we're hoping that these really nice backpacks get used during the year and people see them.
The
For
best
sure.
marketing.
And that's what we use our shirts for,
Right.
the complimentary shirts.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Sam. So now for something completely different.
Okay,
Our friend
so
from Chicago.
we have 5 age-appropriate camps, and they all come to the beach though, first thing in the morning for swim lessons and free swim and boating and fishing. And there's a baseball field there and a basketball court, and they're there till noon and they eat lunch there. So back in the day, before we used to let the parents park and walk, they'd have to hit the light and walk across to the main gate. And the first day they're taking pictures in front of the main beach logo, and it's just crazy. Well, I changed it all when I had an autistic boy who was he looked like a man, and we're in a neighborhood, so he'd ride his bike. A bunch of them ride their bikes. We have the permission. He came running over first day of camp, and he's like, "It's the first day of camp." And I'm like, "That's so great." I go, "You're bleeding, Alex. What happened?" His leg's bleeding. He goes, "Oh, I got hit by a car right over there." And I look over, and there's a mangled bike in the driveway, and the mom had stopped and asked him if he was okay, but then she wanted to get her kids out to go to camp. So she went around him, and I was like, okay, no, this is not working. So now we have a lot more kids too, which means we can't let them get out of their cars and walk in. There's not enough parking spaces. So we have actually this year, Teen Camp is entering through the boat launch, which is on one road. And I have maps for the show notes of how they enter. And they go straight to their room, which their home base is the beach. So they have their main room there with a Marauders map. And that's how they choose their activities. They move their person on the map. So they do all that first thing in the morning. The others, Pee Wee is kindergarten, first grade, Minnie's first and second, juniors second, third, and then seniors fourth, fifth. And out of the 600 kids, about 150 come from our before camp locations, and they bus in and they get there about 15 minutes early. My staff at the other locations get them all changed in their suits because we all start with swim lessons. Before the public gets there, we take over the whole like mile-long beach by what level of swim they are.
Mile long? Because I'm
It's
sitting here going,
really long.
I'm sitting here going, how are we swim lessoning 600 people? And then she says mile long beach. So, okay,
It's it's a very straight, flat, very
this
long
is nuts.
beach.
Okay.
So anyway, arrivals now, each family will get their color-coded card for their window before camp, and everything that's on the website in hard copy, and their shirt before they start. So they'll pull up with their thing on. park police man the main road to keep it moving because we've gotten so big that the police have to be out there, or sometimes parents don't listen and will just, bolt in front of each other. So they pull in, and it's a huge parking lot. So the front line is senior camp, and it's color coded, and we have people with walkie-talkies and their vests on, directing and welcoming everybody. They pull up. We have e-packed, so we have iPads. So they sign off on the iPad with the director through the window while their counselor's taking the child out and saying goodbye and ready to go. And then they have color feather flags that they go congregate by until everyone's there. And then we all go across to the beach together, because otherwise you're stopping traffic a million times to get them across to the beach. So senior camp's one color, then junior camp's the next line, then minis, and then Pee-wee are the last, and then they all exit the same exit. So if they have multiple children, they start at the top and they drop, and they're gone. And teen camp goes to the other end. So once they walk over, they just plop their stuff down at their camp, and then they start going over to get ready for swim lessons and free swim. So they get us out of there before the public comes. They want us to do our lessoning. Yeah.
I want to do an episode on how you get 600 kids to do swim lessons at one time.
Yeah.
That's
It is. Yeah. We have testing on Monday for anybody new. And then actually, I should have specified 2 groups go per day. Teen camp doesn't do lessons anymore. They can sign up for junior lifeguards if they want as an extra thing, but the Pee-wee and mini will go two of the days, and the junior and senior will go the other 2 days. So it's half and half, really. So a little more manageable.
That's utterly fascinating. So,
Yeah.
so Sam, in the map that you sent me that we're going to put in the show notes, right? It shows this parking lot is broken into 4 sections. So are they, that's where they're coming in?
Yes, they would come off, it shows them coming off that road, which is a
Mhm.
neighborhood road, and then turning in. And then each camp has their own lane with signs and with people directing them to go through to then weave out and exit the one exit.
Gotcha. And then, okay, so after noon, right, when the
Mhm.
public is now at the beach,
Right.
you guys are in the park kind of area or whatever, doing all your things at that point.
At noon, our buses all pull up along. There's another road on the other end of the parking lot that we all go over there, load all our buses, go back to our home sites for the afternoon. Except for teen camp, they stay there all day.
Just the teens are at that site all
Just
day.
the teens. They've got a room
Okay.
that's not big enough for my 85 teens to be in it without it smelling really bad. And there's not a lot of room for all their stuff. So now we have hooks in the hallway and in the bar area because it's a wedding venue also. So, but they can, on a rain day, they can take over the bar, they can spread out
Oh my God.
because they
Hopefully,
shut the
can they
beach.
just get married on the weekend, hopefully?
The teens actually started a special event of doing a wedding, and they decorate. They have counselors be the officiates, and
Mhm.
2 counselors marry each other, and it's a huge thing. All the other camps come to watch now. They do a wedding since it's that kind of venue.
What are you
But
doing during all this? Are you crying in your office? Like what like are you bopping around? I mean, especially like
yeah.
and then in the afternoon when they all go to the different locations, are you like each day you go to a different place kind of thing?
Yes, my senior director is that very enthusiastic, over the top, welcoming person. And two of my people, I had to say, don't forget when you're yelling in the walkie-talkie, your Pee-wee director is standing by a parent over here and they hear you yelling. So quit yelling in the walkies. But she's the bubbly welcome. And I love to go just to watch it go, but I also will go to stand behind them where they're at their feather flags, because as the kids get more comfortable, now senior camp's tossing a football and these guys are playing tag, and I just don't want them to get back towards that other road. So I will tell the counselors we need somebody on this duty, but then I go demonstrate it. So then they see me going, hey, wait, stop. And then they get much better about manning the back of the row. But it is really fun to watch how it works. And especially when you get home from a field trip and you have 2 ET buses and then you have them going to, and just to watch it work, you're like, oh, it's so
Yeah, I mean,
fun to see when it,
it's seriously complex.
yeah.
So in a way, your dismissal
Mhm.
is when everybody leaves at noon to go back to their locations, right?
Right, except there are no cars. We're just loading buses.
Yeah, but still, that's the
Completely.
hard part.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us that? We'll do the snake draft so you can do your dismissal now. All right. So you do it's 12
Okay.
noon now. Okay.
Okay.
So now
So
what?
they line up with their counselors in big long lines. Pee Wee goes first, then Minnie. They each have two buses to get them back to their home site. And the buses are very uniform and they line up the same way all the time. That's just happens. So they know their bus numbers, line them all up. The director makes sure everyone has their kids as they get on, and then they take off. And then the next group lines up. So we can fit 6 buses on that road comfortably to have them all loading at one time. And then, like I said, teen doesn't have to go anywhere. Now, dismissal at their sites at 3:30, it's the parents again, but they're at 5 different locations, so it's much more manageable to get them in and out that way. We
Yeah.
do
And I'm sure
dismiss,
well, I'm sure that's also a little bit different in each site because they
yeah,
have their physical limitations and
3
such.
are schools, one's a park building. And then the Thursday, Friday, we do dismiss from May Beach because Thursday we're on field trips. So they come off the field trip buses, get on the ET bus or go wait for mom, and then we do the opposite of the morning.
And
So
then you have 600 kids getting picked up by their parents at one time.
probably about 400 because 150 are on the ET buses, and we do the e-packed iPads again for them to sign out as they leave. And
All right.
amazingly, it only takes about 20 minutes to get them all through once they're clicking.
Yeah, no, I know the amazingly stuff because
Yeah.
what you do in a system over and over and it just gets refined. I mean, humans are amazing at
Mhm.
figuring out how to do crazy, complicated crap like this. So amazing, Sam. I just shout out to the Crystal Lake Park District because
Well,
holy crap.
well, like Jordanna said, you kind of grow into it and you learn by your
Yeah,
mistakes, and then you start
yeah.
going, okay, we need this
Oh,
extra
and not
step.
just that, you also said like it's grown. The program's grown since you've been
Yeah.
there, right? So you have to also change as you grow,
And this
because
year
you
we
could
have
do
100 more kids than last year. So we'll
Mm,
see how
well,
this works this year.
bonuses to my public servants, okay,
So,
this year. All right, who do I talk to? All right, so at Liberty Lake, they're at their dismissal areas. I call for the bus captains. I call them bus captains, not bus counselors, right? The bus captains, just one per bus, will come to get the clipboard. They're like the clipboard person. They go to the office and grab the clipboard, which has all the checkout information. They head up to their buses. We have 28 buses. They're all large. They're all packed. And of course, we have all the cars too. That's why there's so few buses for the amount of kids we have. And once I see a bus captain in front of every single bus in those 4 long lines, I call for the bus kids, and the bus kids then come up. Now, I still have with the groups at that point, we have the kids that are going to be, I call them parent transport kids, PT kids. They're going to get picked up in the first 15 minutes right after the buses leave from their parents. And then I have the extended care kids who could be there till 6 o'clock. So they're still with their groups. It's just the bus kids up there at that point. So now the bus kids get on the buses, and like Sam said, miraculously in 10 minutes or whatever, we're checking out these buses. And I have my specialists, again, are utilized. I have like a crack team of experienced specialists going up and down the rows saying, we can't find Johnny Wiedemeyer, right? And then I'm looking at my clipboard and I call Johnny's division leader and they tell me, oh, well, we sent Johnny up. And then we go check the bus again and Johnny just got there. Or it turned out that Johnny left at 2 o'clock to go to a dentist appointment or something. So our person at the gate is very involved in listening to all this chatter going on because they're seeing the kids that checked out early and stuff. And the office is involved in this as well. But I mean, if I'm there, I'm there. Like, and I'm involved. And it's probably my most stressful time of day because of all this, where's the kid kind of thing. And then once the buses are ready to go, I have my city buses, my Philadelphia buses in the first row. I get them the hell out of there to sort of beat the traffic. And so they're gone. And they're in lines based on distance. So the farthest line are the closest kids, right? So they all get out of there. And then as soon as that last bus is pulling out, I now have the counselors have sent up their PT kids. So now I have the kids that are going to get picked up in this long. So our driveway is a quarter-mile long, and the cars are lined up at that point the entire quarter-mile. They're practically hitting the street. And we have in these cars our ID cards are these placards, we call them. So it's a giant, it's a letter-sized piece of construction paper or whatever, hard paper, and it says Jordanna Grossinger and what division she's in, right? So they show that card to our gate person who's like the Wizard of Oz, who has a microphone and says, Jordanna Grossinger, juniors, come on down, something like that, right? Goes over the PA system. Little Jordan is there with her friends, hopefully listening. And if it works right, she goes, oh, that's me. And she goes over to where the car pickup area is. And the cars are coming around this thing. And we make two lines. So we're just calling out name after name after name. And the kids are just saying reverse, open the door, get in, goodbye. Open the door, get in, goodbye. Put the car seat on, sit in the car seat. All right, all that kind of thing. And it does work like clockwork. And I got this idea from, it's a combination of ideas. Because remember, I started my camp 24 years ago. So I was taking best practices. There was a Camp Champions in Rockland County, Sasha, okay, who was all cars and he was doing it on the street, right, Phil? By the way, shout out to those who do this on the street. All right, my friend Doug Volan at Mount Tom. I don't know how the hell you do it in New Rochelle. I can't even imagine stopping traffic and dealing with the street. I mean, Ross Coleman, who I tried to get on this podcast, he's not doing it on the street, but it does go to the street because he's got so many buses and kids there. So we're calling out these names. We're doing that kind of thing. We get all the PT kids out. And then once it sort of subsides and it goes down to just a trickle, that's when I excuse my main staff, not the ones that are in extended care, because I have a lot of kids in extended care still. And then the extended care kids are the only kids left at that point. And then we're doing the same thing. The Wizard of Oz is announcing the name and all that, but it's one a minute or two a minute as opposed to a lot more than that. So, and yes, it is complicated and it is nuts, but like Sam's example, as crazy as it sounds, it becomes a pattern. And we have people that come back. I have specialists that have been here 15, 20 years. And they're just like, oh, yeah, put me up there. I love that part when they're directing traffic and all this kind of thing. And thank God. Thank God. And the thing I worry about is that first year family that comes in that first time, that everybody's just assuming that everybody knows what they're doing because it's such a crazy traffic pattern kind of thing. And we got people walking around and we don't want anyone getting hurt.
The Day Camp Podcast is brought to you by CRS, Commercial Recreation Specialists, your go-to source for recreation solutions that will help ensure that your camp thrives this summer. Check out their inflatable aquapark courses for pools or lakes, the prime carts, the cool little go-kart things, the emergency alert and lightning detection system. Whoa, the splash pads. Whoa, if you got the money for that, splash pads is the way to go with the heat we got. The Zoom Flume, a lot less money, and we'll talk about the most awesome order of slip and slides that you could possibly get. The jumpers, okay, for bouncing all around the place, mini golf, the prefab cabins and pavilions and bathrooms, the shade structures. Lord, do we need shade structures these days? The shade structures cannot be beat. And of course, the playgrounds, including the ones with the cool musical components. Anyway, CRS Commercial Recreation Specialists, your go-to source. Explore their website today at crs4rec.com because CRS is serious about fun.
Passing the torch to Jordanna. Oh, no, Phil, we're doing a snake draft.
All right, no problem. Exciting part of the day, departure.
Oh, yes.
So between 2:40 and 2:55, our buses come back to camp because they don't stay with us during the day. And in the front of camp, we have those 40 buses that we now have to park in slips, and the 40 to 45 buses that we have to park in slips in the back. They get parked. We have people along the road. Luckily, during that time, we have a third of the camp swimming, so we can close down some activity that would be anywhere close to those roads or slip areas. At about 3 o'clock, all of our folders go out that go into each bus. Those folders have become much smaller because we have an app that we use now, and it helps us out as far as paperwork and attendance and all those other things. At about 3:05, our 12 bus leaders that are designated to locations go out, and they each have anywhere from 5 to 8 buses, let's just say, that they'll do a check on them before we leave in regards to attendance and any other concerns. At 3:25, we dismiss our junior campers, our 3 to 6 year olds, because they have the smallest steps. So we got to get
Yes.
them going.
Yes.
And our second grade girls, they like to talk a little bit more, so they get going. About 3:28, we let the rest of girls' side go.
So
3:30.
hold on, Phil.
Yep.
So is someone like you on the mic on the walkie-talkie, like calling us out as it's going, looking
Yeah,
at your watch,
I'm the
freaking
lucky
out?
one that gets to do that, which
Yeah.
is
All
awesome,
right.
I have to say.
Yeah.
It's a
Oh,
great part of the
yeah.
day.
That's me, Mike. Yeah.
Yep. It's almost as good as the part when we're just about to dismiss, but to actually let the buses go. But
All right.
so about 3:28, we let the girls' side go. 3:30, we give the boys a little bit more time because they are at swim last period. So we want to give them a little bit more time to get, and they like to move to their buses a little bit quicker than anybody else anyway.
Yeah,
Three,
you're really screwing them over. They can't get the back seat. I mean, my God.
yeah. I don't know if it's as important anymore. Who knows? And then at 3:40, we check with those bus coordinators that everybody is good at each location on our walkie-talkie system. 3:45, I check with the cabin, which is a house, a piece of property that we purchased in the front of camp, of any parent that may have just shown up all of a sudden for either a pickup for a child that may have been in the infirmary or something like that, just to make sure that there's nobody that's there for a pickup that we didn't know about. And then at 3:50, we start with New York City buses rolling, then we go to Westchester, then we go to New Jersey, and then we go the Rockland route. They all pull out. It takes them about 8 minutes to pull out. So we're usually off the grounds at 4 o'clock, a little bit before 4 o'clock.
Everything goes right. So that house that's at the front of the property do you utilize that if a kid had to get picked up early, like from the nurse or something like that?
Yeah, we utilize it. We bought it in the early 2000s. We utilize it for if there is a drop off in the morning because a kid didn't get to the bus on time or whatever it may be, if there is a situation with a camper that has to go home from the infirmary, if we're doing a tour, the tour families come in that. Back in the day when I was a counselor here, they used to basically, the tour families would just drive into camp and we'd have people with them, but they would drive right up to the office.
Yeah,
We'd
not
get them
cool.
out and we take them on a tour. Now they go through the what we call the Kessler cabin.
And you mentioned the app, right? And I know you guys are high on technology over there. So we try hard to sort of hide our technology because we're so screen free and we don't do attendance and stuff with iPads and phones and stuff like that. But I know a lot of camps are because campminders sort of trying to push them that way anyway. So how do you guys utilize technology in regards to like your staff on the bus being able to take attendance and things like that?
Well, we're transitioning now. We're actually looking into a few different options because we think we can do better than we did last year. But we're mainly using, so we have a staff app for our staff that are coming to and from every day. They can utilize a different portion of that app to do attendance on it. They have basically the bus procedures, God forbid there was an accident or anything like that. They have the ability to upload, take a picture and upload the accident sheet that we have that they can write on and everything like that, so we can get that, so I can have it on a phone as one of us are going to the accident and things of that nature. So we utilize it for mainly that. I think that we're going in the direction that we want the parents to have a portal to be able to see where their child is in the pickup drop off phase. We think that that's important. Many of our New York City families already have that in the school district because it is necessary for the Department of Ed in New York City to have that.
Yeah.
So we're trying to find the best way to do that, whether that be with the bus company we're utilizing that drives for the Board of Ed, that's now being a factor in what bus companies we're choosing to do business with, and things of that nature. We haven't gotten exactly right yet, but we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, our Philadelphia buses, we use First Student, shout out to them because they have a great GPS system now that we pay a little bit extra for and the parents think it's a godsend. Because like you said, Phil, there's a lot of people now who are expecting it because it's the norm just from their regular school year. And then they're paying this premium to go to camp and but you don't have GPS because parents don't mind if the bus is late as long as they know the bus is going to be late, right? So what about how do they take attendance and stuff? Are they manual or are they using an electronic
They're
thing?
using the phone, the app. So they
Hmm.
basically have the list of the campers that are going to be on the bus that morning, because
Hmm.
we have a 6 or 7 week option as well. So people can go in and out. for 2 weeks out of the summer, out of the 8. And it's just the people that are going to be on the bus. And they basically just check them off as they arrive and everything like
Oh,
that.
it's
And
awesome.
then they come off the bus that's already imported in. We do our attendance at the group level at their bunk. And then we do what's a conflict report within 7 minutes, and we know what's going on.
Oh my God, you guys are like NASA. It's freaking amazing, man. That's awesome. And like, are you as like the person that's the ringleader of this during dismissal? Do you have something that's showing that these buses are sort of checked out or something? Or the people or your bus captain people, your intermediaries, are they reporting to you?
So I'm communicating with 6 of the 12.
Hmm.
There's 2 of them. One person's responsible for another, so there's not so much chatter on the walkie-talkie. And
Great.
and yeah, we're able to communicate quicker. And the key is really that nobody's pulling in at the cabin, because that would be odd. But
Hmm.
we always check that just to make sure that there's nobody there. We don't want the
That's
child
awesome.
that's supposed to be picked up from the infirmary and or late, that they need to be picked up, getting on the bus and going home.
Wow. Well, listen, you guys, Matt wrote this great book about camp leadership about 10 years ago. You guys should write a book about this because this is really awesome. I just learned so much there. That is really great to know what is possible, right? All right, Jordanna, you can bring it home.
Well, I've been sitting here nodding my head because I think ours is a mix of all of those things that you guys were talking about. So for our dismissal process at about 3:25, so 3:05 to 3:25 is the last period. We call it roundup. So everyone's in their areas doing their dismissal processes in all the separate divisions. And then we'll call our littlest ones before that, we'll call a bus counselor meeting, and we take one bus counselor per bus. We have 50 buses. And so one bus counselor per bus comes to meet with our head of transportation, and we just give some important updates. We also use tech for attendance. And so we no longer have the paper-based systems to distribute at that point, but we used to. And then we give some announcements, and then the bus counselors head to their buses, and then we call the littlest ones first to their buses. And every division kind of has their own process for dismissing. So our youngest ones will go with the counselors that are still there to their buses. The older ones will just run and they know where to go. But speaking of our backpacks, which we were talking about before, every backpack has a label with the kid's name, their cabin, and their bus. And so it's really easy for us to kind of just check to see if anybody needs some help getting to their bus. But after the first couple of days, they know where they're going. Our buses come in at around between 2 and 3, and they back into our parking spots on that big long gravel road. And they're in order, they're in numerical order. So the kids know where their bus is, and it's at the same spot every day. So they get into those routines. The bus counselor is waiting at the bottom of the bus. The campers come, they check in with the bus counselor, and then they go find their seat. Our bus counselors are responsible for keeping track of like who ran to the bathroom, who ran to go fill up their water bottle. That's usually the tricky parts at dismissal, just to make
Oh,
sure
heck
that,
yeah. Those little kids. You got
yeah,
that. And that little bathroom break is very important.
very important, especially on those long drives. So we make sure that our bus counselors are trained for that. So everyone loads the buses. Bus counselors are doing attendance. They do attendance as the kids come in, then they do their final counts on their bus. And then we have what we call bus checkers. And so those are our division heads, which are members of our summer leadership team. And they double check with the bus counselors that their counts are good, if there's any concerns. And then they'll be the ones on the walkie kind of reporting if there's any issues. It's funny, I'd like to think that my biggest initiation as a camp director was running that system. My
Oh,
dad still
hell yeah.
most of the time, but now we kind of do it together. And there were times where I did it solo, and I was like, I made it. This is it. Like it's scary and it's exciting and it works for us. And we have to clear the walkie line for sure. That's a big important piece to make sure there's a system to all of that. But that's our bus component. While that's all happening, so we have 50 buses and we have about 100 to 120 cars coming in as well. And so while the buses are parked, we close off the gate at the top and all the cars line up. We give our parents a little later window so we don't back up the entire driveway and onto the street there. But then that gate is closed, they line up there. And when all the kids are finding their buses, the kids that are pick up drop off go to our big aerodome, which is a big space at camp. And that space is divided into divisions. And so the kids will go there for attendance. And we have mini bus counselors. They're not on the bus, but they play the role of taking attendance for those pickup drop-off kids to make sure that we have everybody. And then there's a bus checker for that space too. There's a lot of kids in there, so it's pretty hectic, but their attendance usually goes smoothly as well. And everyone's reporting, like you were saying, Andy, of just like, hey, I'm waiting on this kid. And we have a list as a backup just to know who's not here today, who went home early.
Yeah, no, you got to have that attendance list going. Yeah, super
Yeah,
important.
the quick checks are helpful. And then we send, like you do, our buses, once everyone's clear, we actually have a police officer that we hired as well on the street because it's really tricky on that busy road to get the buses out as quick as possible. So to be the most efficient and safe, we have the police officer helping with our dismissal. We'll pull the buses that are going into the city that have the longest drives first. So we have about 3 or 4 that we know we've got to pull before 4 o'clock once everyone's clear. And then we pull our buses like 35 to 50-ish first so that we can clear all the ones for the back. And then we set up pylons. And if I had anything to spend money on for the transportation process, it would be more pylons because we actually set up 4 lanes with pylons. And then we introduce the cars and they go into those lanes. And we assign staff. We're grateful to have a staff bus. So we have staff that just take the bus with no campers on it. We have a few of those. So they're staying after camp to help with this process just by like 15 minutes. That's how quick we've gotten it down to. But each staff member stands at a pylon and they're the runners. And so they greet the family. The family has a card with the names of their campers on it and their unit. And then our staff say, hi, welcome back to camp. I'm going to go grab your child. And then they run into the aerodome, bring the camper out, load them in the car. And then once a whole lane is good to go, we clear them. This all happens while the front buses are still dismissing. And then once all the buses are dismissed, the cars follow. And that's our dismissal process.
It's awesome. I got to see Everwood last summer, and they had a pylon system very similar, and they probably know nothing of yours either, which is amazing to me how similar it was. Yeah, yeah, pretty cool. And they had really cool pylons. Like I took pictures of them. I'm gonna actually put them in the show notes because they're really cool. They're really important they're so visual for the cars to be
It's
able
like
to see them.
our system, there's always cars parked for the beach. So there's always, our rows are defined by the cars that are all parked so that you could see the clear. So, but we do have pylons for the front. And in case early in the morning, maybe there's not enough cars to show you the lane. Plus, then somebody in a
Yeah, I
vest.
think
And
the ones that Everwood were using were actually like there were markers for like the corner of a soccer field. They were tall and they stuck into things. It was pretty neat. Well, I think you guys, Phil and Jordana, you're lucky that you're able to sort of sneak your buses in and be able to set up because I have this like one road in, one road out kind of situation. I got my 28 buses lined up and I don't let them in until my kids have vacated the program area. And I do not have 1/3 of my camp at Swimville. I don't know. Now I understand why you have 90 lifeguards. But I mean, that's great. You're so lucky you're able to do that, frankly, logistically, to be able to sneak all those buses in. I mean, that's huge, right? Because I'm waiting, it's like 3:25. The kids are off from last period. And now that area is clear and I can whip in these 28 buses and line them up in 4 rows in that order, like you're talking about, Jordana. And I was always like, hey, listen, I don't really give a crap if they're in the exact order, as long as they're in the correct row. And they're like, the driver's like, no, we're gonna, and these freaking giant buses are parallel parking. And I'm just like, geez, I want to call the kids. Come on, no, we have to be where I'm bus 7. I want to. So wow, guys, think about what we do, right? Think about this. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty magnanimous, man. And like you said, Jordan, it's a great feeling when it happens. When I was in college, I worked a part-time job as an accountant, and I would do bank recs for like gas stations and crap like that. And the feeling that I had when those numbers tied, right? Well, when we have all the kids on the buses and like Phil said, we say, okay, dismiss the buses. Oh my God, there literally is there is a dopamine hit involved there that is quite awesome.
don't
So
you think a camp person should have told airports how to run theirs? Because what are they doing having the person on the window last to climb over everyone else? They need to organize better.
Well, yeah, every time I go traveling or to a big game or stadium, you just think they need a camp person to like organize all the
Yes.
stuff and the logistics and all of those things come into play every day.
Yep,
I know. We were at
absolutely.
the at Tri-State, went to the Voce thing, and they had a buffet lined up, and they had people just eating on one. They had people just getting served on one side of the buffet, and I was the first person to be like, "Hey, why don't we go two sides?" And the caterer's like, "No, no, no, we can't do it." And I watched 7 other camp directors go up to them and be like, "Hey, why don't you use both sides?" Yes, camp directors, we are very smart. We are very resourceful. All right, guys, that was an amazing podcast. I really appreciate it. I want to thank our friends at Campminder and AM Skyer and Commercial Recreation Specialists for helping bring this podcast to you. If you like what you hear, just subscribe to the Day Camp Pod on your favorite podcast platform. Check out our show notes from all our episodes, including this one, at daycamppodcast.com, as well as contact information for the show, for our guest Phil Rainone, Jordanna Grossinger, and for me and my co-host Sam Thompson. Thanks for listening and making yourself a better Day Camp Pro. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode of the Day Camp Pod.
The Day Camp Podcast is brought to you by Go Camp Pro and the Go Camp Pro Podcast Network. Find a podcast for camp professionals of every age and stage at gocamp.pro/podcast. Thanks for listening, friends. Hey, Camp Pros, we love that our industry is built on sharing. In order to foster that spirit, we hope that whenever you share an idea that you learned from the Camp Hacker podcast, conference, summer camp professionals group, or wherever else, that you're quick to give credit where credit is due. That way, we can all encourage more camp pros to share the tips and tricks that will make camp better.